Hello friends, welcome to Elcam IAS. We are continuing our Indian Express Demystified series with today's newspaper of 15th May. So let's start. This is about me. I am a doctor. I have done my MBBS from Government Medical College. I have worked as AMO in Indian Ordnance Factory Health Services. This is my 5th UPSC attempt. So let's start with today's newspaper. So Prime Minister has unveiled, has released the 8th installment of payment in PM Kisan Yojana. So let's use this opportunity to discuss about this PM Kisan Yojana. So it was a scheme that was launched in the interim budget of 2019-20, but the beneficiaries started receiving a payment from December of 2018. It stands for Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. In this, to the eligible beneficiaries 6,000 amount of 6,000 is given to them in 3 installments through direct benefit transfer system. So it uses direct benefit transfer system. This means that the scheme's money or incentive is not given through cash, rather it is directly transferred into the bank account of the beneficiaries. It is a completely 100% centrally provided sum, and the mechanism through which it is distributed is as follows. First of all, the state governments will identify the beneficiaries, and they will go identify and authenticate the beneficiaries of the scheme. At present, about 9.5 crore farmers are beneficiaries of this scheme. For this particular process, state governments would have to appoint SNOs, or which is called state nodal officers. State nodal officers. So after this identification, the list would be given to this union government. In the union government, we have something called PFMS, Public Finance Management System. This Public Finance Management System, it would then issue a fund transfer order through which Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare, which is the central ministry, will issue transaction order. Through this transaction order, money would be transferred to the state nodal officer, designated bank account. From there, authorization will be given by SNOs about the various beneficiaries, and managers of the bank would transfer the money into the beneficiaries account. So this is PM Kisan scheme. Last year what happened was, there was a tussle between Union government and the West Bengal government. West Bengal government delayed appointment of state nodal officers and delayed the supply of the list of beneficiaries to the Union government, resulting in a war of letters between Union and state governments. And in the backdrop of state elections in West Bengal, that become a political issue. So now West Bengal farmers are also getting PM Kisan cash this time. So let's move to the next news. Sputnik 5. Now this vaccine is made by Russia, and it has been rolled. It is being imported to India, and in fact it has been unveiled that it would cost around 955 rupees or 1000 is short, and by mid-June people would be able to get this vaccine. Now this there is something that we have to take care. What are the details regarding Sputnik 5 vaccine? So first of all, which is the company that is making this? Gamaleya Research Institute of Epidemiology and Microbiology. So it's in Moscow. So it created this vaccine, and mechanism of this vaccine is similar to Covishield. That is, it is a subunit vaccine where a spike protein of virus is used, and here only difference is that in Covishield adenovirus is used to transfer the subunit, but in this case human adenovirus, there a chimpanzee adenovirus is used, here human adenovirus is used. With regard to efficacy, it is said that according to the Lancet it has close to 91% efficacy. So it's a very effective vaccine. In India, we have Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, which has signed an agreement to supply this vaccine. At the same time, there are agreements for local production of this vaccination, local production of this vaccine. So right now the cost is around 1000, and this is same for states, private sectors, and even the union government. So if we go cost wise, this is the second costliest. Why it is second costliest is because Covaxin of Bharat Biotech, it is costing around 1200 for private private procurers. So after that, this is the second costliest vaccine. At the same time, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories is planning to launch something called Sputnik Light, so which would be a single dose per patient rather than present 2 doses. How the supply logistics of this vaccine would be there? Right now 2 forms are available, liquid form and liquid form. And second is, wait a second, so freeze dried form. We are right now importing liquid form, but the problem with liquid form is that for storage it requires minus 18 degrees Celsius. So right now our cold chain infrastructure, especially the that used in universal health universal immunization program, it has 2 to 8 degrees Celsius cold chain. So in a way, a proper cold storage infrastructure is a different kind of cold storage is needed. And at the same time, the freeze dried form has 2 to 8 degrees Celsius storage temperature, which is very much conducive to the universal immunization program cold chain infrastructure that we recently are having. So with this news comes to an end. Now let's move on to the next news. So Punjab government this time has set a new record on wheat procurement. This is on account of the direct payment system. So this is the first time that Punjab government is using a direct payment system to procure the wheat. For this, Anaj Khareed portal has been launched by the Punjab government. On this portal, the beneficiaries can register, and in fact J form, there is something called J form, so that it carries the details about the crop a farmer is selling to the government. It is Punjab has become first state to have J form on DigiLocker, so that is first for the state. So with the help of this Anaj Khareed portal, the wheat procurement has hit a new high. Along with this direct procurement, other reason has been there have been concerns in the mind of farmers that maybe because of this farmer unrest, the procurement procurement of the wheat won't take. Out of the concern, they took proactive measures so that their wheat is procured on time. At the same time, there was a pressure on state government because of the widespread and the union government because of the widespread protest to procure as much wheat as possible. So all these things resulted in Punjab procuring the maximum amount of wheat. In fact, it is said that that why Punjab is at the epicenter of this protest is because, first of all, 75% of its procurement goes through mandis. So because of this, the protests about the farmers' law was more prominent in Punjab and Haryana. At the same time, one has to keep in mind the benefit of direct payment is that money would directly go to farmers. So farmers will would have easy in getting their money for the sold crop, and the role of artiyas, that is the middleman, would be greatly reduced. So with this, let's move to next article, left out of COVIN. So now in this article there is a comprehensive discussion of what are the lacunas in our COVIN strategy. According to the authors, it is a technocratic approach we are using. So how it is creating problem? First is that we are having mandatory pre-registration on COVIN platform. So we have a rural-urban divide in the digital sector. So in fact, rural areas have only 34% internet penetration, and digital literacy is far lesser in rural areas. So because of that, they have been excluded out of it. Second aspect is with regard to the policy where third parties have been allowed to suggest when the vaccine slot would be available. Now it is creating two problems. First is with regard to automation. Now this automatic availability and linking of filling of these slots is again creating access inequity. Second aspect related to third party only is with regard to the data protection. As we all know that health data is a very personal data, and is a very sensitive personal data in fact. But we do this COVIN app does not have a privacy policy. Or second aspect is that we do not have any data protection law as of now. Now only a draft law is there which has not been passed by the parliament. So because of that, there are concerned that these parties, when they are involved in processing of healthcare related data, the privacy of the citizens would be compromised. In third aspect is there are certain concerns that are raised with regard to how this COVIN platform would be further changed. In fact, CEO of National Health Authority R.S. Sharma recently said that facial recognition system would be used in place of biometric system. Now there are higher failure chances in case of facial recognition as compared to the biometric data of fingerprints that we are having. So the failure rates are more in facial recognition. The government's argument is that while vaccination process and authentication is being done, minimum interaction should be ensured so that the COVID does not support, and facial and iris scan would be a more COVID appropriate behavior. However, they do not take into account the more failure rate associated with facial recognition. At the same time, that statement was criticized because Honorable CEO R.S. Sharma used the term facial recognition as opposed to face authentication. So facial recognition versus facial authentication. So these are two different terms, and in later on R.S. Sharma clarified that what he meant was facial authentication. So facial recognition means that you take a face and then have a profile and compare the two to find out the person involved. Authentication, however, is a different mechanism where a person's Aadhaar number is put on, then his facial expressions are captured, and the Aadhaar is authenticated. So there are, when we use the term facial recognition, there are fears associated with the surveillance in this particular case. So all these problems are out of the technocratic approach we are using, where we are prioritizing data collection over vaccine equity. So because of that, there are problems in the present vaccination process that we are using, especially the technological interface of the vaccination drive. So let's now move to the next article. This is an article by Julio Ribeiro about playing with the force. So the context of this article is that central government, the Home Ministry, has given protection to those BJP MLAs which were victorious in the recent West Bengal elections. Now this is a matter of concern, first of all because it creates center state divide, and second is it is a dangerous politics entering into central forces like CRPF and CISF. So what are the arguments by Julio Ribeiro that this is not a right move? First is that these CRPF and other forces, central government forces, they were made with a different mandate. Providing VIP security was added later on. So there is a need for reorientation in the training of these central forces. Second aspect that Julio Ribeiro is pointing out, that when CRPF and these central forces, they go to any particular state, they function under the command and control of local police hierarchy, because local police is more accustomed to the area concerned, the culture of the area in which they are working. Third aspect is that the coordination between the two would be reduced, because the state police would feel that there is these central forces are coming to teach them a lesson, and so they won't be cooperating with central forces. Fourth aspect is that it will set a bad precedent for future governments. So with these arguments, Julio Ribeiro is saying that the decision of Home Ministry to provide protection to BJP MLAs is not the right way. So next article is how to fix the shortage of doctors during the pandemic. So right now we are having a pandemic, and according to Dr. Devi Shetty, we are going to face a crunch of healthcare workforce, and especially doctors shortage would be clearly visible in the near term. So there are certain suggestions that the author is trying to give. First suggestion is that we have to we have to identify and delegate some roles and responsibilities of doctors. For example, nurses and some other paramedics can be given basic training in order to at least triage the patient and provide oxygen supply. So that can be done. Second aspect is that what we can do is we can train doctors of different streams. For example, dermatologist can be trained to to deal with respiratory issues, because coronavirus is a respiratory infection. Third thing that the author is saying that we should use telemedicine very liberally. In fact, this would be an enabling technology which would not only help provide guidance to the patients, but also the coordination between a far away area, where a far away hospital would be able to get connected to a centralized, more experienced center, and can have linkages to and fro in order to manage the patients in far-flung areas. When the virus is spreading to the rural areas, the relevance of this kind of approach increases multifold. Fourth aspect is this about missing doctors, missing female doctors. So it has been found that according to the NEET data, 55% of those students who qualify for medical colleges are females, but when we see how many doctors are there, the percentage of females is very less. This is on account because the government infrastructure is lacking, and especially like in peripheral area, there is even absence of toilets. This basic infrastructure is not there, and there is security concern related to females, so female doctors are not there. So we have to take steps in order to encourage these missing female doctors to rejoin their duties. So all these steps can help address doctors shortage in the short term. Next is justice as a final. Now recently Supreme Court gave a judgment regarding Election Commission. So the context of it is that Election Commission of India was criticized by Madras High Court. Madras High Court used terms like Election Commission of India is single-handedly responsible for this pandemic, and they should be charged for murder cases. And these were not official record, but off the cuff of remarks by the judges in the Madras High Court. Now the Supreme Court, Election Commission of India took that case to Supreme Court. Supreme Court saying that media should not report these observations, but Supreme Court passed a very fine, balanced judgment. So there were two aspects to the judgment. First, the Supreme Court said that media should be allowed to report all the matters related to any judgment. So this is again empowering media to report freely and fairly. Second aspect is that it has also remarked that judges should be careful about what kind of statement they need. The present article discusses how the judges when they are hearing these cases, how they are going above their remit, and they are using very what we can say is unofficial language in order to criticize the various functionaries like the executive. So this approach would be very counterproductive. The author tries to divide between two things: judicial activism and judicial governance. So judicial activism may be justified to an extent, but judicial governance is completely not justified, because judiciary are not aware of the problem. They are not experts to deal with the problem, and it's very easy to pass judgment from comforts of a judge's room than to actually see how the situation is unfolding on the ground. So there is a call for judicial restraint in present circumstances. So now let's move to the last article of today's newspaper. Punjab now, as the whole of the country is also facing the shortage of vaccines, so is the Punjab government is facing. According to experts, we should at least vaccinate 1 crore per day, but we are falling very short of this kind of needed vaccination. So what Punjab government has decided that it has approached COVAX platform. So now what is this COVAX platform? This is a platform made by WHO, World Health Organization, and Gavi and CEPI. Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Initiatives. The idea between COVAX platform is that certain developing countries are not able to get the vaccines on a priority basis. So what the COVAX platform does is that it will buy or purchase from these vaccine manufacturers lot of vaccine. After purchasing that, this vaccine would be given to those who need the most, especially where the caseload is very high. However, the issue is that it is operating at the national level rather than subnational level. Considering the fact that Punjab is a state in India, so maybe Punjab is not eligible for COVAX platform. So with this, today's newspaper has come to an end. I hope you are loving our Indian Express Demystified series. You can also find the notes of these today's newspaper and also the past newspaper on the link given in the description. Finally, I would like to thank you for listening to this and encourage you to like, subscribe and comment on these videos. Thank you so much.